Hello, everybody. It's Deloaded here. On this episode of the DonFuer podcast, we're talking to Enigma '08. This is
Oh,
a
oh, eight.
okay, sorry, two O's.
Thank you.
008.
Yeah,
Uh, a
those are important.
a well-known player, builder, somebody who makes music machines. They probably have a pretty interesting story on 2B2T. So, hello, Enigma.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. Um, so everyone has a beginning to their 2B2T story. When did you
hmm
first hear about the server, and then what made you decide to join?
That was in around September 2020. I just get back into like Minecraft YouTube content. I didn't watch that for a couple of years, and I just stumbled upon some new stuff.
Hmm.
After listening to a very old Let's Play I watched in 2013, a German Let's Play, and the player there said, well, if you don't want to see all this mining and caving and strip mining, just go watch a walkthrough. And I thought by myself, are there speedruns from Minecraft? And as you maybe know, the 2020 was a very big year for speedrunning and all the dream hype, and I got into that, so into English speaking Minecraft content, since um, I was watching English videos as well by then. That didn't happen when I was younger.
Hmm.
And it didn't take long until very ugly thumbnails showed up on my recommended page. What is, as I know now, the 2B2T spawn, and I ignored them for like 2 weeks and said, yeah, I don't want to know what this 2B2T thingy is. But then there was like a history video or FitMC going over the history timeline, and he said, yeah, if you want to see the other 9 years of history, you have to watch my other videos. And I said, wait, there, there's more? I have to start at the beginning here.
Hmm.
Um, and this put me in the pretty deep rabbit hole of TBTT history that started with like Dick MC's video about TBTT history. So I watched that, and I watched it again, and um, yeah, that sparked the fascination. And I watched basically everything out there, from Fit, from Cell, from Barondome,
Interesting.
and yeah, everything. It took another 3 months until I finally joined the server, but I like read the Reddit for before that, and trained how to use like baritone and highway building tools in 20 in like October. I joined in November in the end,
So you
and
were training.
yeah,
You
because
were like training before you joined.
I tried to use baritone in a single player, like just in a single player mode. I didn't even play Minecraft at that point. And I had to fix something with my PC, but then I finally joined. I did my own speedrun first because I was still very um fascinated by speedrunning, and I did it in like 4.5 hours first try ever that I played, that I even like beat the game. And then at a very nice Wednesday, I took a day off from work. I joined queue at 7 a.m. in the morning, and at like 10 a.m. I was in and could play for 6 hours and did my spawn escape and got my first gear and whatever people do at their first date. And yeah, I basically knew everything that is to be known about clients and how to escape spawn. I watched all those videos. I
Yeah.
looked what those clients were doing,
All
and
that training paid off.
yeah, I I didn't trust all those modules yet, and I had no idea like. Well, I didn't trust baritone. I tried it for like mining diamonds, and it was
Yeah.
very scary to just let it go and so close to lava, and dying seemed to be the worst thing, so I didn't want to escape spawn again. But yeah, I really liked it. I saw like someone flowing by on a boat, someone else dying in the water. I was very scared of both of them, but I felt very, this is the place to be. Like,
Yeah.
I had a great first day there, and I think, yeah, this gonna be nice. I like this. anarchy thought behind this a very flowery
Yeah.
um
So you joined the server in
concept in my mind back
a
then.
very you joined at a very chaotic time. Like 2020
Yeah,
was a huge year for the server. So many people joined all at once because of
hmm
COVID, honestly.
yeah.
Um,
We were in the middle of no server November.
oh wow, in the middle of
It
no
was
server
like
November too.
mid November, November 11th.
Was that back when no server November actually did
hmm
something?
Yeah, two
Okay.
TPS. My first message in chat was something like, "Oh, I love to run the same blocks over and over again because I got lagged back."
Yeah.
It was
I
like the one or two TPS experience. They had those EMP machines back then, and yeah,
right.
I was
No
waiting
server
at
November was
camp
so
quarters.
bizarre. Like, I mean, the first year they did it, they were very effective. Like they lowered
Mhm.
TPS, they screwed up the queue. The second
Yeah,
year, less so. Third year, nothing even happened. Like they didn't even do anything. Um,
yeah, exactly.
People just gave up on it because it wasn't working, and I think everyone that tried it realized it was stupid. And
Yeah,
I don't know, but so you join and you have a the classic spawn escape. It sounds like.
exactly. Yeah. And I, of course, knew about the 2B22 Atlas, so I looked for some kind of starter base somewhere on the map,
Uh huh.
or followed my way along the map and found something like 50k out somewhere. And yeah, was there like for 4 days, got my efficiency 5 pickaxe, like grinded by myself. And then I went off to the X Positive Highway because I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to be a highway builder, and I knew that X Positive was the project that was um, up there back then.
Because of
So
Fit's video about the highway.
um, maybe that as well. I know Cell also made a video about it.
Interesting.
Um, I just like the idea of infrastructure and of doing something that is like actually somehow helpful for the community and for everyone in the community. So I think I like sprint jumped for 370k blocks or something because I didn't trust Baritonia to auto block. I had no idea about horses. I had no
Mm-hmm.
client that could do boat fly, what was the travel meta back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I sprint jumped for a week, or like for a bit over a week. After a couple of days, I decided to buy Prio, and that was it. When I arrived at the building site, I started to build highways up to 1 million.
Right. So did they like recruit you after they saw you building the highways, or I don't
No,
know anything at all about the highway builders people, to be honest. How does all that stuff work?
I found them like there were uh, two two groups, three groups back then: Mag, IIS, and HWU. But IIS was inactive and later on joined, or quote unquote merged with HW. They were dead at the time. They had some um, drama going on. You may or may not remember the player Fifth Column. No, Fifth Column is Void. Fifth H, not Fifth Column. Different guy, different
Sorry,
guys.
fifth
Fifth
A?
H.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that.
he had like some drama going on, some
Okay.
controversies, some
Classic
like
highway
no things.
drama. Okay.
The bad, yeah.
Um,
So he did some bad stuff. He also had like a shop and did some bad things there, and so that kind of like killed IIS. And people from IIS founded HWU, and I saw like some posts on Reddit about them. I joined the Discord of HW like a month before I joined the B2T to just like be there and read what happens there, and um, yeah, I knew where to go, so I went there and built the highway and applied to be a highway worker and all this LARP 2v2T group stuff.
interesting.
So I built highway.
So how did you go from and how long were you doing the highway stuff?
I'm kind of still doing it. I'm still active in HW, sometimes more, sometimes less. There weren't many projects in the past, but now there's kind of a need for infrastructure again because we have like mob spawns now and highways that aren't grief protected and highway meta like bouncy fly that doesn't go well with that. Horses also don't go well with that, so AFK traveling is becoming harder and harder the more guests grief the highways. So yeah, I built a couple projects with them. In the end, led projects by myself, and yeah, always
Interesting.
was and still am interested in infrastructure. Like
So,
the first project I worked on was X positive to 1 million Nether.
mhm,
We finished that in like December 2020. Then we did the first diamond highway, like basically a diamond where the corners are at 50k. All the highways to 1 million Nether, X positive to overworld border, more diamonds, more paving. We did the grid recently, so in the 50k range, 50k Nether, there's a highway at every 5k horizontally and vertically, like south, north, and east, west. So within 50k, you don't have to travel more than 2.5k open nether if you're smart
mhm.
and know about this highway system.
I see. I see. So, how many groups have you been a part of on your time on the server? I mean, it has been uh almost 3 years, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after HW and after 1 million X positive, I went back to spawn the very first time, and I flew by some known people from my group, but also from the Infinity incursion back then.
Oh, okay.
So they were rebuilding the lava wall.
Right.
So I flew by, someone of my group was in there, vouched me in, and then I was in II and did some projects with them and just sitting in VC, got to know more people. And back then, HW and II were the like big community or like the big public servers where
Yep,
basically everyone could get in. So
that's true.
yeah, I got to know new people there. I was in II for a while. I also worked on some of those projects. Um, was in the building division for I don't know. I wanted to go to building because I never built anything but highways at that point.
Hmm.
Then I disbanded, Bookhood started, and I knew the II people well enough that I'm got like invited and still am in Bookhood. What is more of like a private, exclusive friend group thingy. Um, except of like some bases they had, like Akiba Hoods you may have heard about, or some Halloween bases.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. Right now, it's just a friend group of like II veterans.
Yeah, so back then II was, it was the biggest group on the server, and it was
Hmm.
like it was kind of what you said, where it was this huge community hub
Yeah.
because they weren't just big. They were mega huge. Like
Mhm.
this
Like,
was back in 2020, 2021 when 2B2T itself was way bigger than it is right now. A lot of
yeah.
players, I feel like a lot of people that joined recently don't understand just how big 2B2T was in 2020.
Yes.
In
2 hours in
2020,
prior could big.
right, like I'm speaking for the sake of the audience right now, but like
Hmm.
in 2020, um, Prio Q was like 100 people long or over 100 people long.
Yeah.
So the server was quadruple the size it is right now in terms of players. So when we think of the big groups of today, we think of Spawn Masons and DonFuer and Astral and SBA. Like those are probably the big four. Um,
Hmm.
and if you took all the people from all four of those, added them together, that would be like 70% the size of II. uh,
Maybe
yeah, II had like 500 plus people in it or something stupid like that. It was insane.
3.5K, I think, in the Discord.
Yeah, yeah, in the Discord. Now members
In
is
active players,
yeah. Active
I don't
players
know,
was probably a
lot.
hell of a lot less, but that's always how it
Yeah,
is. Um, so okay, so you were in II until II kicked the bucket.
yeah,
Um, how did you end up joining the Spawn Masons?
yeah. Well, so I was in Spawn Masons later on, and I also still am in the Spectrum Builders too, finishing
Yeah.
answering the previous questions.
Okay.
And
Well, how, so
af
oh, you were gonna explain. Go ahead.
yeah, so after like I wanted to build, I built highways for 3/4 of a year. I wanted to, and I building division seemed like a good place to do that, but that was also mid 2021. There was like a base started, but everyone knew or kind of knew about no com, so nothing really happens. Everyone was scared of their stuff to be found, and
Hmm.
the base that got started was no exception. As far as I know, I don't really remember what happened to that. Was it like a little Viking something base?
Hmm.
Um, and after the building division got closed, um, someone recommended me as like someone that wants to build to Astral. So I got invited to Astral.
Oh, okay.
And
Wait,
there
when
I talked
what year was this?
2021 summer.
2021. Okay, so you got invited to Astral from II.
hmm Maybe
Okay.
late summer, like
And then
July, August.
from there it was easy to get in the Masons basically.
Yeah, like a week. Like and I joined the VC there. I got to know Joey a bit. We talked a bit about stuff,
Uh-huh.
and about a week or two later, I got invited to the Spawn Masons as guest.
Are you still
That was like
friendly with Joey?
um
Well,
we
you can answer
do
that
not
however you want. It's not
yeah, we are not in contact or like always are there's no or our paths are not crossing
I see.
um in any way at the moment, let's say it like this.
So when you are you still I assume you're not still in Astral.
No.
So did you leave Astral at the same time you left the spawn? This is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Did you leave at the same time as you left the Masons?
Um I got kicked from Astral because I was inactive there.
Oh,
Like I did the museum for a big part of this year.
right.
Like we started I don't know, at the beginning of the year and it ended at like September or something.
Uh-huh.
This project took a lot of time, and it was also summer, and I was traveling and living life and didn't play
So,
didn't play very much. When I played, I worked at the museum, and
yeah.
so I didn't build at any other bases such as Astral. So I got kicked for inactivity.
Yeah. I'm just curious about this because to me this is really interesting this insight about um how all these groups are connected because one of the things that people in my circles constantly talk about is the connection, the really strong connection between Astral and the Spawn Masons. A
Yep.
lot of people kind of see Astral as like a pipeline to the Spawn Masons, where if you join
hmm
that and you do good enough, they would basically recruit you out of Astral. And it
Well,
sounds like
it
that's
is.
exactly what happened to you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't join Astro to join the Spawn Masons. I just joined Astro because I wanted to
Well, you
build.
maybe, yeah, obviously you
But
weren't intending to do that, but it's just what ended up happening because they saw you, they thought you were a good builder, and so they sniped you
uh,
basically.
well, I didn't build there any like that. Not
So
at that
did you go to
point. At
Sky
that point, I
Masons?
didn't build anything. The first time I actually built something on the server was at Sky later on.
Yeah.
But Yeah, kind of. It is
So
more
you were
like,
part of the guest program to build at Sky Masons. Is that what it
yeah.
was? I see.
Um, and about Astral, I think, or like I understand it more as a way to get into contact with those people that also um are in Spawn Masons, and
Yeah.
when you know someone that is in Spawn Masons and be like notable to them to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be like building, can also be just a nice that you're a nice chill person. Then the chances are, I guess, pretty big that um they will think of it as a good addition to Spawn Masons as well.
Right.
So it's more of a place to meet the right people, instead of like a boot camp or a, how did you call it? A
It's like a pipeline
preparation thingy. Yeah.
or a recruitment pool.
Yeah.
That was the phrase I used. Well, see, a lot of people on 2B2T, and this gets into just a group psychology thing, you can say whatever you want about this or just tell me what you think about this. But there's kind of a phenomenon in 2B2T of um, different groups having different levels of prestige, basically.
Mm.
And people will use lower prestige groups as stepping stones to get into higher prestige groups. And sometimes it's not even a conscious thing. Usually it's not, honestly. It's just you join one group because you can get in, and then you realize, or you meet people that are in this higher tier group, and you end up getting recruited into the higher tier group, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Um, and there are a lot of groups that nobody really ever talks about very much that are basically just stepping stone groups, and it
Yeah.
it kind of sucks if you are the leadership in those smaller groups. And I know this because I've talked to them. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to name drop certain people, um, but I know a lot of people who run smaller groups than the big four that I mentioned earlier. Um,
Yeah.
I talk to all these other group leaders, and behind the scenes, they kind of know it. Like, they know, like, hey, people only join my group because they want to make connections to join your group, Deloaded, or like or
Hmm.
people only join my group because they want to make connections so that they can join this. So, it's like it's kind of a
No, it's
shame. Like,
just
there's a brain drain going on where the Masons are at the top and they can just suck up anyone they want into their clout vacuum cleaner, basically. And
well,
I know that's kind of
um,
a crazy image, but it's sort of true. Like, they just, especially with Sky Masons when they had that guest thing, you know, they could reach
yeah.
out to anyone they wanted and
Mm.
say, "Hey, we have the coolest space on the server. We have unlimited materials. Want to come build?" And who could say no? Who could say no to that offer? Nobody,
Well, some are more impressed by that than others. Um, but
I
in
guess.
the end, it is kind of right. Getting like my personal goal was always to like get to know people, get like having connections to different parts of the community, have friends here and there,
Right.
like get into the community, get to know groups, be maybe in some more secretive groups, all things like that. That was at least my goal in like
hmm
2021, 2022.
You wanted to feel like you've made it, I guess, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
just to,
Yeah. That's
to say it
understandable.
in a very LARPy way, to work my way up the ranks or whatever. Um,
hmm
but it's like, no, that sounds very wrong by now.
Oh no,
But
that's
back then
fine.
I
Yeah,
just
people want
that was
people want that
actually
now.
my goal,
It's
just
normal.
get to know people, and um, there are like a lot of nice people in this
Yeah.
in this community, and they gather themselves in more or less private groups because the public groups are like fun and stuff, but having actual like conversations with them or with people or like get to know people for longer than the first month or first 3 months or first 6 months, the normal to be 2T player um is motivated to actually play or actually be part of something. Um, it is way easier to be in those other groups where you have people that know each other for years by now,
Hmm.
where you can have like friendships with people you know for a long time. There are people I know now for over 3 years, or like about 3 years, and that's like an actual friendship and not just a buddy from a block game group.
Right. Right.
And you don't have this fluctuation in those more public groups, uh, in this less public groups. There's more fluctuation in the more public groups because everyone gets there, and whenever it's summer, or whenever it's school or work or university or whatever it's going on in their lives, or whenever, I don't know, they get a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, then they're gone from the community. And you don't have that in the more established groups. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah, there's a
actually
lot
have
less of that. I mean, it's
more
it's a
ties
lot
to
more
those people.
stable.
Mm.
I mean, there's one group called the Imperials. You've probably heard of them, right?
Yes.
They have like a new leader basically every year.
Hmm.
Like every time I talk to them, it seems like they have a new leader, and it baffles me. I'm in contact with them all the time, and I'm like, okay, can you explain this to me? Like, what happened to that other guy? Like, what? They're like, oh, well, he retired. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Why did he retire? And then I go talk to the old leader, and he's like, yeah, being leader was like the dumbest thing ever, and it sucked, and I'm thank God I'm not doing it anymore. And it's like, oh no, like what the hell, right? It's supposed to be fun, like it's Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are, places where you're saying, the stability is better. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, that is what I find more interesting when it comes to VTT groups. What I rather invest my free time into than in just another group with people that will disappear in a
Wasn't
few weeks.
II like super unstable though?
Um, Still talking about two II people in Booklet now,
Well,
so
I mean, you did
I
have
don't know.
Baki at the top, obviously, but
Yeah.
didn't he have like a bunch of middle managers that were kind of a revolving door?
Uh, I don't like back then. I didn't really care because it was about to get to know people, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of those quote unquote higher ups in II back then are still if they remained active or if they entered this friend cycle or the inner circle, like I don't know, had infinity rank instead of eternity rank back then, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
then they're still around. And
Interesting.
those were just a more or less select few. And
Were you ever in the Guardsmen?
no,
No, okay.
I
Because
think that
if you joined
broke up.
in late 2020, and then that was past the Guardsman peak anyway. Um,
Yeah, and I think that like broke apart in mid 2021 when I knew more people that were also in Guardsmen, so I could
yeah.
have gotten there, but at that point I've heard,
At
nah,
that point, it wasn't worth
I don't
it.
know, you know.
At that point, it wasn't worth it. I touched on that topic of the Guardsmen and like the collapse of the Guardsmen and everything a lot
Mm,
with Frank Nificent when I did the interview with him. I talked about that a lot.
mm,
Um, so okay, so you get invited to Sky Masons,
yes.
and then how long after that? So I assume you get initiated as like a full-time Spawn Mason after that, right?
Sometime later, yeah. So after my invite, it took me like a month to get quote unquote ready to do something at Sky because at that time I'm doing my very first own building project that is the end portal pyramid, like an end portal build made out of obsidian, pretty big.
Okay.
Um, and after that, yeah, but at Sky Masons, I get initiated a couple months later in like early 2022. And yeah, that's when I became one of those secretive spawn masons.
Right. So what was it like on the inside of the Spawn Masons? Can you
Oh,
and if look if I ask a question that you don't want to answer or something, you don't have to. But
yeah,
you're for those who don't know, Enigma recently left the Spawn Masons and made a Reddit post exposing that they had a coordinate exploit. So
confirming.
I got to dig into that at least a little bit.
Hmm.
What were they really like on the inside? Were they getting along? Are they all like really close friends? Do they fight with each other? Like, what's it like inside the Masons?
Yes, yes, and yes. It is just a friends group. Some people like each other, some don't.
Hmm.
M- They're talking about normal IRL stuff, block game stuff, whatever they find interesting in the internet stuff. It is just basically people having fun. Some play the game, some don't. Um, some are more active than others. It's just, yeah,
Who was the most
I
active Spawn Mason?
I don't know.
You
There are a
don't know.
couple that are very active. Some are more active than others. I guess the leaders are pretty active.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah,
When
some
I
more, some
was
less.
when I was in the Spawn Masons in 2020, they were infighting like constantly. And it wasn't just like a little bit either. It was like every single day was like a massive blowout argument. One time it got so bad that Entropy like shut down the Discord.
Hmm.
He literally locked all the channels and there was only one channel you could talk in. And
All the.
Scribble Fox posted this really long um like just this like monologue. It was like two paragraphs.
Hmm.
And then at the end of it he's like, and don't respond to this with a one sentence response because that just shows that you didn't read it or that you aren't trying to work the problem out.
Hmm.
And then I think I don't remember exactly what I typed, but it was I think I said like too bad or something. And then I got
Oh
locked.
well.
I got booted out of that channel too, and I couldn't talk
Huh.
anymore. Um,
Okay. That's something I haven't heard about, or maybe I
I'm
did,
sure it
but
wasn't
I don't connect. Like they don't connect it yet. But it
yeah.
was basically like before my time.
That was before
So
your time. But
yeah.
that the they were having those really bad arguments when I was in, and that was the stuff that preceded Hermetic Lock quitting,
Mm.
and me quitting, and us doing the stuff that we did.
Yeah.
At the time that we did that, the Spawn Masons were a dysfunctional mess,
Mm.
and they've recovered obviously because they kept going since then. And I
Yeah.
think part of the recovery was a lot of the people that did agree with Hermetic Clock simply left.
Yeah.
And so it just became, but like how I want our audience to understand like they are human beings. There's a lot of
Yes. Definitely.
there's a lot of fit fans and other people in the community out there who tend to both demonize them and also treat them like they're the Illuminati or something, or like they're like this super secret society that's
Hmm.
invulnerable and blah blah blah. Like
I know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that as well. Like people holding their breath, and you say that you have something to do with the spawn masons.
Yeah. They just, and that's what I meant. That's also part of what I meant when I said there's a hierarchy of prestige, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, because when you mention spawn masons, people just hold their breath like they can't believe it.
Yes, they're awestruck.
Yeah.
Someone of the almighty spawn masons is talking to me. Oh boy.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in a
Yeah, but
way
like,
that they don't really deserve that, to be honest. Like,
well, that is one thing, but it is just another book game group that
right.
is harder to get into than into others.
Well, I
Not
mean,
the
what they
hardest, I
really
guess,
have
but
is they have a couple people that are really good at coding, and they created all these exploits, and so now people are terrified of them.
yeah, but well, from my perspective, that was never um like for a long time that wasn't an issue. And also the fact that like materials are um basically just there wasn't a like reason that I thought, oh yeah, cool, now I am in this rich group and I can build whatever I like to. This is something very special. I have to feel special now. No, it was just a group and that had a bit more stuff than others and where less grinding was needed than in other groups. So, and then you just had normal community stuff happening. People having discussions, people liking each other, some stupid internet jokes, a big fascination for cats, as we all have. And
Right.
yeah, so that's that's basically it. And I guess in whatever internet community I look into, there's exactly the same.
Yeah, they are kind of in a bubble though.
Mm.
And I don't know if I imagine it's still like this. But like when you're in the Masons, you don't have to worry about anything else. Like the rest of the server may as well not exist to you. Did
Mm.
you experience that phenomenon as well, where it's just
Well, hmm.
were the Masons regularly talking about events that happened elsewhere on the server, or were they only concerned with their own stuff?
Well, other events like have been talked about as well. Probably not every single SBA base. Um, or like those smaller things, but bigger server events, um, of course, have been talked about even more when they were like somehow organized by people that are spawn masons or are associated with them,
Hmm.
like the Spawn Agrarian Project, for example.
Right. Well, that was the Masons teaming up with a group called the Society, right?
Maybe could be.
Now, you're
Please
not a
refer to
member
the
of the
wiki entry. I don't
Society.
know.
You're not a member of the Society, but you are a member of the Spectrum Builders.
Yes.
Before we talk about you leaving the Masons and stuff, can you talk about the Spectrum Builders for a little bit? Like, how did you join them, and what are they like?
Okay. So, Spectrum Builders is what happened after, like the group that um got founded after the 5K radius Obsidian platform over Spawn has been finished. Like they started in some um Fast Vincent group, like he initiated that project, but they actually finished it. And
That was
in
started by
there are
Freedom Holland, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like also a highway builder and not a highway builder, he's a highway digger, he's from Mag. And those people are like just they are. just grinding. They are like doing the same thing over and over again, and he like took this kind of in his own hands and just put some good people around him, other people experienced with hardware work, so very tedious, repetitive, but also pretty much AFK process,
Hmm.
and finished that project. And I know him from Mac days and HW days because like hardware groups are kind of like allied with each other. And yeah, like one day he invited me to that, and now I'm there.
So were you there when DonFuer teamed up with the Spectrum builders to do the Christmas or to try to do a Christmas base in
Yeah,
last year?
last year. I
You
was
were there for
there.
that? Okay.
I was kind of there, but I wasn't very like I heard about things from the Spectrum, like the Spectrum side of the story,
Oh, I'm sure
but
they
I
badmouthed the fuck out of me. Like,
maybe
I'm sure
I
they
didn't
did
listen. I
after
didn't
that.
listen too closely what they said because
Yeah,
first of all, I like to make up my own mind about people and who they are, and
yeah.
even though I heard a lot about you, um,
Let me tell you, when
it's just
Freedom Holland
stories
gets
from
mad,
other people.
he can yell.
Yeah, I know him
There
pretty
was some
well.
behind the scenes arguments where he got very mad.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
I know him pretty well.
yeah, that
I
was a whole that whole thing I just regard as a huge disaster.
yeah.
And that's why we don't really do holiday bases anymore because you can team up, or for that matter, bases where we like team up with other groups because
Mm,
it just creates an opportunity for you to fight where there was none before. Like,
yeah.
um, DonFuer had a great reputation with SBA. We had a great reputation with
Mm,
Spectrum Builders prior to Halloween 2022 and Christmas
yeah.
2022. We had a great reputation with those guys. We were all friendly. And then we
What
said,
happened?
what happened
Yeah, like what happened that this
to
like this good
Halloween
reputation
or
ended?
to the Halloween thing or to the Christmas thing?
No, I mean, it's more of a rhetorical question. Like,
Oh,
what happened that this kind of fell apart and is not anymore like that?
well, so we tried to do a Halloween base and we wanted it to be kind of the Spawn Masons, they have a Halloween party committee every single year and a Christmas party
Yes.
committee. And everybody knows that that's a Mason controlled thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they try to act like they're not, but everybody knows they are. Like every single admin on there is. So we thought, okay, how about we start our own and we just invite other people to help us? And we had some
Mm-hmm.
people from the Imperials helping us, and we had some people from SBA helping us for Halloween. And I even invited Franknificent,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a mistake. Uh,
Hmm.
Franknificent was I thought, hey, this guy's a really good builder. We haven't been on great terms in the past, but maybe this can be my olive branch to him, where
Mm-hmm.
I say, hey, how about you come to this and we'll build something together for this, and then we can be friends after that. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And so many things went wrong. Um, he invited Dima to it,
Hmm.
and Dima showed up unannounced. He wasn't supposed to do that, and I got pissed at Dima. And then because he's Dima,
Mm-hmm.
hard not to. He's very annoying. Um, it just turns into a massive infighting thing because as soon as somebody leaks it, everybody starts pointing fingers. SBA
Yeah.
points
Of
fingers and
course.
says, "Oh, it was one of your guys who leaked it, or it was Franknificent." And then I was pointing fingers and saying, "No, it must have been like the Spawn Masons or something who leaked it." And my logic, I had logic behind that. My logic was they have a rival party committee, so it's in their vested interest to try to sabotage ours. In
Oh
my
boy.
mind, that makes
Well,
sense.
it is. like I like there's another child building a sandcastle, so I want my sandcastle to be bigger, so I destroy the sandcastle of the other child. Like it's
Well,
well,
yeah, but you gotta okay. You're right, but that's how 2BTT works. Like that is how
hmm
people operate on here. It's true.
I do know that, yes.
It's petty, but you gotta expect people to be petty because 9 times out of 10 they
Yeah.
are. And the way it was leaked as well, it was leaked through an anonymous account. Someone created a brand new Discord to be a burner Discord
hmm
just to leak the chords.
Yeah.
And the only people that we had known to do that in the past were the Spawn Masons, specifically Joey. So
hmm
I was trying to figure out if it was I was alleging maybe it was them somehow because we had people
Yeah.
like Cammy who had chords and he's like a Mason guest rank or a Mason loyalist guy right now and he was
hmm
shilling for them really hard in our Discord the whole time. So they definitely had chords. They had our chords if they wanted to do something they could have. So anyway,
hmm
I was alleging it was them. SBA was alleging that it was Frank. I was trying to stick up for Frank, and we had a lot of private calls, private arguments
hmm
between me and the SBA guys,
Yeah.
and it ended up just breaking up. It was like we can't work together anymore, so they'll go do their own Halloween base. We'll go do our separate Halloween base, and I tried very hard not to denigrate them at all after that. I think the message I said was very carefully worded. It was like we had some disagreements over it, and we have to go our separate ways, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Um, and then they still ended up being mad at DonFuer because some of the builders that we had took old schematics from the previous Halloween base and rebuilt them.
Yeah.
And apparently those were designed by some SPA people. So they were like upset and they felt like some of our members stole their schematics or something.
They stole all builds.
Yeah.
hmm
So they were upset about that. And I'm like, look, I'm sorry that happened. I you know, didn't really know who built that schematic. I thought it was cool if they rebuilt it. Sorry about that. But they've kind of had a little chip on their shoulder about us ever since. And SBA has been very close to the Spawn Masons. There's a lot of overlap there,
hmm
and so um, I mean, a lot of them are involved with Mason projects and are just they're just in that circle talking to the same people. And
Yeah.
so when they started to go down the path of not liking DonFuer, there was a lot of positive reinforcement for them from people that were Spawn Masons. Because the Spawn Masons don't like DonFuer because of what I did in 2020. Um, and that's one of the things I hate about 2BTT is like it's almost impossible to get forgiveness ever. Um, Even when you come out and apologize or say, "Yeah, I was wrong about that." Like I made a ton of mistakes during that Halloween thing. Um,
hmm
we had a dumb argument. It wasn't entirely my fault. Um, I did turn out to be wrong about who I thought leaked it because later on, Frank admitted to me he did.
Yeah.
So I I was really pissed at Frank when I found that out because I'm like,
hmm
bro, this was my one olive branch to you, and you effed it up. But you know, anyway, so that really destroyed our reputation with them. And then
Yeah.
we tried again for Christmas, and this time we got the Spectrum Builders to help us, Freedom
Yeah.
Holland, and the same shit happened again, where it got anonymously leaked, and we just started pointing fingers at each other. Um, Freedom Holland was also we had I had a lot of disagreements with him personally about like the details of the actual project. So he wanted to dig this massive hole in the ground
Yeah,
down to
I remember
bedrock.
that. Mm.
Yeah. And I was pretty much never on board with that idea from the start because I was trying to do Dawn 25 and I had all my best builders working on that.
Mm.
So I'm like, look, and that was around the same time. It was the same month. I'm like, look, we can come help you, but it's going to be closer to Christmas. Like maybe a week before Christmas or something. Like I was like, yeah, you can dig this hole if you want. I'm not going to tell you you can't, but I'm just putting it out there that we can't contribute as much as you might want.
Mm.
And as soon as that came up, as soon as I said that, I knew it was going to come up later.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew it. I knew that as soon as something goes wrong, they're going to say, DonFuer didn't help us enough. And so therefore, uh, it's like your guys' fault. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much what ended up
That's what
happening.
happened?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's pretty much what ended up happening. So from now on, after that, I was like, okay, we tried Halloween, that went to shit. We tried Christmas, that went to shit. Let's just not do group projects anymore because it's chaos, it's anarchy. Maybe we can count on our own people not to leak our own
Mm.
stuff, but we can't count on other people. And so, you know,
So that's the DonFuer community basis or holiday basis.
yeah, that was a little bit of a tangent, but I wanted to answer your question as thoroughly as I could.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone has ever asked me details of those two incidents before. So,
Here's the deloaded side of the story.
yeah, yeah. Um,
But yeah, when like since I kind of was on the spectrum side of that, I saw pictures of the big hole and
yeah,
people talking about that, but I wasn't active that much in there to actually know or remember the details of whatever the spectrum side of that argument looked like. So
right. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I can't
it's
say too much
honestly,
about that.
I from my perspective, it's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope that other
Now
people
anyway.
feel that way too and aren't like holding a grudge about it. But you
Mm.
never know.
Yep.
So tell me more about back to you. um,
Back to me. Yeah. Well,
tell me about like when was it a long process when you decided to leave the Spawn Masons, or was it more of a sudden decision?
define long and define sudden.
Well, I mean, how
It
long were you
was
thinking about it before you ended up leaving?
um I thought about it the entire 2-ish weeks I knew about or I I had been told that the rumors about an exploit are true.
Who actually
So
told you that?
that has been told at like I got told a day before like on a Friday and the next Saturday it was lodged. So this is when all the like everyone else basically got told that there's something to those rumors since it was a couple months by then that those like two players, one map and 1248 test user were doing like sightseeing or stealing stashes here and there and all over the map and not connected to any or not seemingly connected to any group and yeah that this is somehow connected to spawn masons and them having a code exploit was um, I got told about 2 weeks before before I made my Reddit post. And the decision that I will tell the community about this confirmation was kind of fixed about but less than a week after.
Hmm.
But I kept thinking about all the different ways of what I could do throughout the entire time. So that was a pretty big thing in my brain, rolling around thoughts to kind of find out what bothers me so much in the beginning with all that and what actually to do for that, or like what I should do about this bothering me.
Hmm.
And I ended up um, telling the community with a Reddit post and with a little article in the 2B2T Times.
Right. So, who actually told you that there was an exploit? Was it Entropy or like how did that happen?
They just mentioned it in Lodge, so the weekly Spawn Masons meeting.
They just mentioned,
Um,
"Oh, by the way, we have this extremely powerful coordinate exploit."
uh, Something like that. Yeah.
And nobody like asked questions about it? Or, like I feel like
Yeah.
if
Of
there would have
course,
been
people ask
crazy
questions.
reaction to that, right?
Yeah, of course, people ask questions. I can't remember who exactly asked what, um, but basically, like, questions were like how it works and uh, what what can be done to be safe from it.
Hmm.
The answer to that is um, leave 1.12 chunks and get stuff that is somewhere important to uh, 1.19 chunks. So like to new terrain, since this exploit was apparently active in the last month of 1.12.
So does it still work today, but only if it's in 1.12 chunks?
Um, if it was active and like I don't know exactly how it works or what triggers
Okay.
it or whatever
Is it so, but
shenanigans
is it
are
like where
going on in the server.
they're scanning for activity in the same way that NOCOM was scanning,
It
or
maybe I have no idea.
do you know if it works like in the Nether or in the End, or like is it just Overworld?
I think Overworld is the mention to care the most about.
Because
I
I
think
know
I
NOCOM could track people in the Nether, right?
yeah. Um, I don't I don't really know the. I think the most important dimension is overworld, and
Hmm.
but when it comes to moving stuff, yeah, maybe don't have your stuff at the end of your 1.12 chunk now that they're so easily distinguishable in the Nether. Like they're chunk borders now, even though chunk trails and new chunks is I think kind of not working anymore or not as reliable as it worked in 1.12.
Yeah,
1.12 chunks and 1.19 chunks can still be told apart pretty easily.
right. Yeah, they
So
definitely can.
it might not be a good idea to have stuff in 1.12 chunks in the Nether either. No idea about the end though.
So were there friends in the Spawn Masons that you consulted about this decision before you decided to leave?
No, I didn't talk to anyone within the Spawn Masons, and that is one of the big critique points they like have now against me.
Is that you didn't talk to them
But
first?
I didn't talk to them first, yes.
Do they feel
And
betrayed or do any like?
probably betrayed, disappointed. I mean, I told someone about someone else's block game secret.
Hmm.
Um, but I um I actively decided to like not talk to them before. Like just didn't I didn't just forget. First of all, it wouldn't have changed anything. Like my decision to make to make that public or to confirm the existence of that exploit, since Everyone who didn't live under a stone knew about specific players showing up at bases they shouldn't show up at.
Right.
But it's just rumors. Like whoever you ask, there's always a court exploit somewhere.
Right.
What is probably true. Um, but yeah, it wouldn't have changed anything in my decision making because the baseline would still have been the same. There's a few people that know a lot, and majority of the people, like of the players, 2v2t players, that um, a lot is known about. So it's an imbalance,
Hmm.
and it is in a larger way speaking, like taking the essence of Minecraft Anarchy away. Like you probably know how much it is about trusting people, about hiding bases, about hiding stashes, about um, trying to find out who to trust and who not to trust.
Right.
And um, this aspect has been completely demolished by someone having court exploits and living it in the way that um, those bases are visited. People use like for days and weeks they travel through like open nether or wherever to like make chunk trails and to hide their stuff, and suddenly it's just known by someone, and that is not what Minecraft Anarchy in my understanding is about. I um I didn't feel good with being suddenly one of the select few that know about something like that.
Hmm.
And yes, one argument about that is, yeah, but NoCom was the same. Why were you fine with NoCom? True, NoCom happened in 2021. In like summer 21, it went public, or like not NoCom went public, but the existence of it. And in September, I think, or August, I got invited, and at that point, I didn't think too much about that. Like no one
Hmm.
was talking about NoCom anymore. Not really. At least it was just the aftermath and the fit video and all this
Right.
kind of stuff. But Spawn Masons having a court exploit wasn't on the wasn't in my brain at the time, and I just got invited to the Spawn Masons, to that secretive group, powerful, wealthy, and I was kind of fangirling that for like at the beginning and felt honored that I got invited and I had all those feelings. So I didn't really think critical about, okay, what actually is this group? What is happening there? What are they doing? How moral is what they're doing? That
Right.
happened later on, and that is when, yeah, that is when
That's when you had the
basically the
change of
next
heart.
court exploit came around,
Yeah.
and I finally had my um yeah, my moral compass bugging me. Like at first, I just thought, yeah, this is wrong. I don't feel good with that. What is happening here? And I um, looked into that, tried to find out what exactly is bugging me, and came to the conclusion that it is this imbalance. I don't like this morally wrong in my moral compass
Hmm.
terms. This morally wrong thing, and that I do not want to be a part of that.
So do you have friends in the group that you left behind or
Um,
who stayed?
I I would say yes. There are a lot of people that didn't say anything. There are some people that voiced disappointment their disappointment pretty loud. I've uh I will see what future brings up and wherever paths will cross again.
Right.
Um, but for now,
Did
I
Chip Off
like I
speak out? I like Chip Off.
uh
He's a good dude.
Yeah, but I never had uh dense ties with him.
Oh,
So
I see.
we were in the same block-in group, yes. We probably talked in VCs, yes. But that was more or less it.
Hmm. Um,
Yeah,
because I mean, I'm of the opinion that there are definitely very good people in the Spawn Masons,
yeah,
and then there's like this elite Nerds Inc. group at the top that kind of does all the exploiting,
hmm
and then the regular people, the regular Masons that aren't really responsible, end up taking the flack for it because their friends robbed everyone on the server, and
yeah,
like there's a lot of people that are still upset, uh, even about NoCom. There's a lot of people that are still upset,
yeah,
and they won't
probably.
say it out
But
loud because they don't want to. They know that the Masons are everywhere, and they don't want to piss them off. But there are people that are still
yeah,
upset even about that.
maybe. But everyone has to decide for themselves what they do or do not. And I wouldn't have cared at all if I wouldn't play the game. Um, but I do play the game.
Yeah,
So, and yeah, I rather, uh,
I think it's admirable of you that you take a moral stand on that. Not a lot of people would have done that, so
I
props
mean, no,
to
I'm
you
not
for
in the
that.
wealthiest group anymore.
Hmm.
Now I have to fight for my stuff. Yeah, but I'm fine with that. And um,
Well, that's a good segue, maybe. What do you think you're going to end up doing now that you're independent?
just the same as I would have done before, probably.
Are you going to go back to highway stuff, or
I mean, highways are with like more mob spawning now. Highways further out than 1 million are
hmm.
in pretty bad shape, I've heard. Not AFK able to travel, and that is something we might do something about. Other than that, I have a lot of um a lot of ideas what to do. I'd like to build another end portal, build
Hmm.
something huge out of obsidian. Um, there will definitely be options to build music machines at bases, or like to add music machines to build at bases, because that's what I kind of like to do and what I'm good at. And I think the server needs more music machines, and I have more instruments now that 1.19 happened, what is kind of nice. Um, and I would talk to people and I don't know, just vibe with people I like.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's cool.
who and whoever thinks that like canceling a friendship or not talking to me anymore because I told the community a Blockam secret. Mm, I'm kind of okay with not talking to those people anymore because like how deep did this friendship go when something like um me talking about this exploit is enough to destroy that.
Hmm. Do you
So,
feel like it has destroyed that? Like you think,
um, I don't really know. Some like from the most people, I have no idea what they are thinking.
uh-huh.
Just a few, and um,
It
yeah,
probably has. I just not to be a
it's
doomer or whatever, but it probably
yeah, there,
has.
there there will be the full spectrum. Those that say I will never ever talk to you again because I don't know. I'm disappointed by you as a friend, and they take this very serious. To those that may even understand it a bit, to those that don't care at all. Um, yeah, but I'm fine with Like when if the people want to, stay in contact, they will reach out, I guess, since like I'm the outcast now, um, willingly.
Hmm.
And if not, then okay.
Right.
For some, it's more sad than for others, but that is just the way it is done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all um, interesting, interesting thoughts to share. Um, so I think we've covered most of your 2B2T journey. Do you have do you have any final thoughts you want to leave the audience with?
I don't. Let's see.
Do you have like a YouTube that you want to plug or anything along those lines,
No,
maybe?
not really. If ever needs my music machines, I do commissions. Um,
Well,
Other
there you
than
go.
that, not really. I'm
Enigma
just
takes
having,
commissions for music machines, guys.
well, um, other
Y-
than that, like I'm just having fun with nice people I met on the internet, and I am probably not going to stop that anytime soon. I'm playing way less than before, like than in 2020 and 2021,
Yeah.
but still, this is a nice place. I kind of like how inclusive the community is in the end, because everyone can just be as weird as they just are, and it's just accepted somehow because weird people like you kind of expect weird people to end up on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft,
Right.
um, where it's from the outside is a pretty toxic community, but as soon as one gets to the insides and gets a bit further than the public groups, there are very wonderful friendships that can happen, and I'm happy um, that I have friends like that
Hmm.
and people that um yeah, people I share more with than just like block game stuff. Like I met a couple people from the 2B community IRL so far, and whenever I don't know, I get through like some places, I know that I can just meet up with someone if I know that they live there, just have a nice afternoon and then move on or whatever. So it's yeah, it's actual friendships instead of just this like shallow internet um acquaintances I found here, and that's kind of nice
Hmm. Well,
knowing a person in every corner of the world basically.
yeah, sometimes you can make friends on 2B that I don't know. You can make surprisingly strong friends on 2B. It's very cool actually. It's one of the interesting things about it.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's a great point to leave it on. For everyone out there watching this, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to Enigma 008 for being willing to talk to us and share her story. Thanks so
yeah,
much for
thanks for
watching,
having me.
everybody, and we'll see you next time.